Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack. We also have
Domino's, ready to rock.
now we have a video just about we're talking about Wolverine Revenge. And this is the return of Greg Capullo to Marvel. He actually was supposed to return to Marvel when he finished up with Spawn and there was I figured Haunt that he was working on with Image. And he was in between Batman and Avengers versus X-Men. And he decided that he would do Batman, and he went on to big Batman fame with him and Snyder. And he did a bunch of, obviously he did the Metal series. He got to do a simple thing of Swamp Thing, which he was a fan of. I think he did revisit his character Twitch. He did a thing with Mark Miller. And now, obviously, with the DC contracts, you know, them cutting their budget or whatever. I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but ultimately he's back at Marvel. Now, I was wondering what he would do. He's always been a fan of the Fantastic Four, but obviously Capullo, even he said way back then that the FF wasn't a big selling title. Capullo, you've always been the gimmick. You've always been a talented artist. So whatever you do, we're gonna follow. You had he got the same sort of um kind of thing that they gave to Todd, Rob, Jim Lee. He wouldn't be going to Image being like, hey, I gotta follow where the money is. You're the way the money is. Batman wasn't selling as much as when you got there, but I say all that to say now he's at Wolverine. He's on Wolverine Revenge with one of the hottest writers. Jonathan Hickman, had you heard about this? And if not, what are your thoughts about it so far?
Didn't I hear about it?
Huh?
I haven't heard about this. When was this announced?
It was a while, maybe it was like a month ago. Yeah, it's less. It's about 2 weeks ago. They got Greg Capullo and Hickman presents Wolverine Revenge, right? And
No, I haven't
it's
heard
going to
about this,
be.
but I mean, I think you got a pretty good mix there. I'm not, I'm not one of these Greg Capullo zombies. I know that a lot of people like his art. You know, I'm not, I'm not one of those. I like some of the stuff that I've seen, uh, but I'm primarily the guy who got turned on to his art when he was on Spawn.
Mhm.
And I thought the other stuff, I thought he really was in his element with Spawn, the horror stuff. I really like when he does that stuff, and the superhero stuff, not so much. But hey, he has a strong following. They really like the stuff that he turns out, love his line work. So you've got one half, and then you got the other half is Wolverine. So I don't see how you go wrong with this one. And a good title too, Revenge. I think you're going to get a lot of people to tune in for it.
Also, it's going to have Sabretooth, the Mega Red, and
Oh,
Deadpool
good.
story.
Oh,
So,
good. Good grief. Good grief. Who? All you need is who? Just throw Lady Deathstrike in there and resurrect Shingen, and you'll be fine.
yeah, for me,
Once they
I could
already
see
resurrected Shingen.
I could see that he was going to be something big when he was on Quasar, but we're in a different time in comics at that point. We're at a time where, like people like Byrne, Miller, and Perez, even Simonson, like they were during a period in the 70s to 80s where you could pick a dud and become a big, huge success, where you had artists like Mark Bagley doing the New Warriors, which was selling well, but then they say, well, let's take this guy and put him on Spider-Man. And you had Greg Capullo was on Quasar, which you could see the art, you could see that he was pretty decent. And this book didn't turn around. They wanted it, and then of course the X Office has been calling and said, "Hey, you want to do do an X? I think he did X-Men Annual." But when I first saw him, I saw him in Quasar. I don't think I bought any because I didn't really understand the stories. But when he got to the X Force, I was just like, finally, they got him. And I didn't really, and finally for X Force because it was a title that I think was struggling. That's when I first he did the a big fight between Cable and Deadpool. So it was just like It was like it was some gorgeous stuff. And I think Marvel, since they weren't into promoting the guys, they were worried about him leaving. You had X-Force that was doing well. They were just worried about X-Force, um, you know, overtaking the regular X-Men title. And they lost when they did when Wolverine lost his adamantium right before that. Magneto comes back to the storyline in X-Force 25, and that's a great issue. And we lost him to Spawn. Now I did buy the Spawns, the early stuff, and I think I stopped around 29 or something like that. When I came back, for me, I'm on the opposite end. It was a little too he was in his Mark Silvestri, Bernie Wrightson phase of obviously and that was a little too much when I know he can do the meat and potatoes type of John Buscema type stuff. So it was a little too far going for me, and I was totally out of Spawn, so I couldn't wait for him to get out of Spawn because I could only stay with it. I only stayed with it. I guess he was doing it before then, so I think around. No, I did buy the two issues he bought. Like it was issue 19 and I guess no, he did 16, 17, 18, 17 to 20. He did all those issues of Spawn, and then I lasted to 29. So he was involved in Spawn for like a year, and that's as much as or less than a year I stayed on it. And I had to get off of the book because the storylines just weren't, I couldn't see it going any further. Obviously it's up to 300 now. And I did buy issue 300 with Capullo went back to, and we haven't seen Todd doing anything besides inks and or writing. But I've always been a fan. So when he got to Batman, it was just good to see, him on a regular title. And I always have a problem when you take an artist and put him have to draw 3 million characters because you could see the weaknesses and not everyone being able to do 3 million characters and do it well. So it's easier when you have a single character, even though you have supporting characters around them. It gets harder and harder as you go along. You have even if you look at Contest of Champions, if you look at what I think was John Romita Jr. did on that book, his first wide shot is like 1,000,000 times better than the wide shot you see in Secret Wars. He did some great group shots, this, that, and the other. All through the book, the book works out. When he gets to the X-Men, you see that gene is out of him. Like the X-Men are more solo stories. You don't see that much group stuff and not the strong group dynamic that John Romita showed early on. So the group thing is a tough thing. And even though he did X-Force, he did well doing like 12 X-Men and 12 Avengers. I say all that to say, I was like, this is not going to work. And it didn't work with the artists they had and the story they had. So, but it was a big seller. So this is, it seems to be in the same vein of Savage Wolverine, the thing that Frank Cho did where Wolverine was in the Savage Land, which was just a gorgeous book. They made the artist edition of it. Seems like in the same vein of that. And we got Hickman on there. So if you're iffy on his X-Men and some of the
Great
other
art.
stuff, huh?
No, Savage Wolverine, great art. They picked the perfect artist for it because that's what I mean. If you saw any of the Jungle Girl stuff or Shanna the She Devil stuff that Frank Cho did, so it was right there. A sensible story, no.
Yeah.
But it was fun, but it was definitely fun to look at.
So this is what, even though Chris Claremont did I guess you could say Wolverine meets Terry and the Pilots type of thing, where he's in this like this Asian area and this sort of thing, and have these kind of veterans around him. This is what Chris Claremont kind of wanted for the series. He didn't want to stay on it forever, but different writers and artists get on the book and do their kind of art on the story. So it's getting back to what I mean, the initial four-parter was, because he was saying, why don't you just keep doing series and miniseries, but keep it in that vein, not keep it a long-standing, even though the bigger success was the whole Larry Hama and well, I can't say Adam Kubert because there was so many fill-ins in between Adam Kubert, but he was the regular artist on the title. But Larry Hama, he's a he's more of a monthly workhorse than anyone else out there. So, it's like you're gonna get that from him on Wolverine and X titles at different points when they needed, make sure things were coming out when it was rolling. He was the perfect guy for it. But it gets back to having your Wolverine romp, just like the first miniseries with Chris Claremont and what's his name. So pull out all the characters and have some fun. So seems like it's going back to that. And we'll see what else is coming from Greg Capullo after this. Hopefully it's not just hot titles, because you could see glimmer of him maybe doing some other stuff when he was doing the what's that thing? The heavy metal, the dark, the was it Dark Knights metal, which I definitely couldn't stay with. It was too much of a, it was the group problem. And it was like, and it wasn't even that many characters. But you get your Batman who laughs, which is, I don't know if that's a good contingency, but people like it. So any other last thoughts?
No, but hey, I'm saying no, and I'm about to give some. If you like Wolverine, I think this will be definitely for you. I'm not the biggest Wolverine fan, so I'll probably have to let this all come out and see about reading it in totality one time. But it looks like they're playing to win, and I like it when they play to win. I would really, really love to enjoy something from Marvel right now. I mean, I'm not reading. I mean, both companies I think are in this just stuck. I think the movies really didn't help them. It really didn't help them. And I think they're stuck in terms of where they want to go story wise with the comic stuff, because they understand that the movies are still going to be this viable option for them going forward. It's not going to be just a cyclical thing, it's going to be a regular thing. But when I see stuff like this where they're like, no, no, we got to do stuff that works in our medium, that I'm happy to see. So yeah, I'm looking. I will probably read this when everything is ready to read. I don't trust it to entertain me on a monthly basis, but I'm looking forward to doing it in that fashion.
We talk about it. I'm just gonna add in there. You ask me from time to time what I'm checking out, and obviously this is a book I'm gonna check out. I actually have another Marvel book that I've been checking out, which is the most recent Fantastic Four. I am not recommending it. It's just okay. That's so we always talk about what we're reading recently. The last 3 or 4 issues have just been okay. They kind of patting themselves on the back because they've made Alicia a part of the team, and she's like at the table with the team. But at the same time, Stanley, well, more so Kirby. Kirby did a couple of major storylines with Alicia, having her be a key part of the story. So I love her as a supporting character. I definitely, when she was during the Burn run, her personality came out even more during there. But going back to Kirby, he already made her a big part of the story. Like she had 2 major storylines, one with Silver Surfer, like a big support in the comic and in that. But it's just okay. So we'll just add it in. I'll have a second book I'm checking out now. I don't know if the Fantastic Four is going to hold up forever, but the art is just okay, and the storylines are okay also. Not great, not comparative to anything that's been hugely successful, or the Mark Waid run, or the classic runs of Stanley or Jack Kirby, but it's just on okay, better than what Slott was doing. That's all I can say. So you always ask me about that. And off the show, I'll just add in this would be the second Marvel title I'm checking out.
See, I would have done. I'm not too big on Alicia being part of the team. I'm not with this whole way. Hey, everybody gets to be on the team. All the girlfriends. Well, not so much the boyfriends, but all the girlfriends get to be part on the team. And like, you're not part of the team. But you're correct in terms of the stuff. Alicia was a very good supporting character, if not a member of the Fantastic Four. So it wasn't that she. I mean, she's been around there since near the beginning. So I mean, her first appearance is with the Puppet Master. And what's that issue like? 14.
Oh, it's like
It's
eight.
very
It
early.
was like 8, yeah.
No, 14 is what, the Watcher. So it's she's been around since since the first year she's been around. So the whole idea of putting her on the team, for me, is more like, well, you know what, let's try this out. Who hasn't been a member of the team yet? Oh, well, if Herbie can be a member of the team, why not Alicia? That type of stuff. But I would have to definitely see how it's executed, since she's not a member of the team for me, but she's an integral part of the Fantastic Four in terms of everybody connect in terms of everybody connected to it.
Well,
But that's not something that's not something that would get me to go for it. There was this issue. I don't know. This is issue of the Fantastic Four. I don't know if you got to read it, where Reed is, I think he's captured by some alien race, and he as they're they're gonna he's got to do trial by combat or something like that, and he says, "Hey, can I have my family come to support me?" And
mhm.
so they're like, "Okay," and they know him already. They know the family's going to be it's going to be him, it's going to be Sue, it's going to be Johnny, it's going to be Ben. They're expecting that. And when they transport everyone, it's like everybody who's ever been a member of the Fantastic Four.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. I think I see.
It's every it's been like everybody who's ever been be part of the Fantastic Four. So I dug that. I really dug that at the end of the day because again, for me, it's like this is a really everybody just thinks of it as this core four, but there's been a whole bunch of play that went on here. So thinking on that, because I don't think Alicia showed up in that issue because I don't believe she was ever a member at that time. But putting her on, hmm, I don't know. It's almost like when they did that alternate, or I should have called it Ultimate Fantastic Four before they had the Ultimate line with the Hulk and Ghost Rider and Spider Man and Wolverine. It was like, okay, the new Fantastic Four, and I was like, no,
But those
no,
are
it's
ones that
kind
showed up in that issue, and or didn't they show up in there? And I was like, you go, those
they
aren't.
was they were still the Fantastic Four. I can't stop that, but I didn't agree with them being like, this is the new Fantastic Four, and I'm like, okay, and how is this dynamic supposed to work? And it's like, no. And then the biggest thing about it is the family aspect, which these guys weren't. They were just like, hey, the other guys are gone. It's the four of us. We're fantastic, amazing, some of us, and then we'll just, we're off to the races. If I would have, but if I did swap, I'm not reading anything from Marvel. Everything that I'm reading is just Superman related. House of Brainiac has been a very good read. The last issue was slower than the first two parts, but House of Brainiac has been a very good read. So if there's anything I can recommend, it'll be that.
Well, just to say, definitely, if you're going to see how it works, there's no logical sense of her actually joining the team. I ultimately would think, it done right, Alicia would be like, I'll join the team if it means right in this kitchen. But or if it's situation hasn't been where I think it's like issue 10 of the Thing series where the Thing's mind has been taken over and Alicia is stuck in the hospital that's been almost destroyed by this person who, and she basically, because she's obviously always gotten around even though she's blind. Well, we get to see her doing that and get to the scene and they're just like, well, whatever you can do to to calm the Thing down because he's totally going crazy. It's like, no, I was in the room, but someone's taking over and she's able to talk the person into like leaving. But it's like if it's a situation is dire or someone takes her away, that sort of thing you get in there. But I think she would bow out of actually joining the team as a member. Is like, hey, in the times I've done stuff, it has been, almost someone falling into through my window, like the Silver Surfer. It hasn't been where I go out and fight crime and that sort of thing. And, kind
Yeah,
of, hmm?
every so often, I mean, especially in the Marvel universe, every so often we should see like the person who gets that opportunity say, "No, thank you. This is dangerous. I don't
Yeah.
want to die." What you guys do is like, this isn't something that anybody can just walk into. No,
Mhm.
thank you. I may be blind, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah. It's almost like what's the name? I think the George Perez character, the Julie Capullo, the daughter of the archivist, where she just was a normal girl. I think they did try to make her into a villain later, but for the longest time, she had no interest in being Wonder Girl. She just was Wonder Woman's friend. So it's like remember to just keep these supporting characters. They shouldn't have a magenta moment like in the Flash where the chick turns into a villain after breaking up with Wally West type of deal. Just keep them like normal. He don't turn into Jackpot or any of those things, you know. Unless you write the character, it never really works when you decide Ned Leeds is the Hobgoblin, or now this person's a superhero. If you can figure, but ultimately, outside of someone like Wyatt Wingfoot, who's not a superhero, but he's always been a man of action, so he would join the team in the same like the Thing when he doesn't have powers, which finally they did, towards the end of what was it, Simon? Well, I guess start of Simonson run, the end of Englehart, where Thing would just, even if he was human, he'd still be on the teams. Anyway, check out Wolverine, Spinner Rack.
Oh, wow.